Hey everybody, welcome to the Virbela Open Campus. I'm here with Brian Culhane, co-founder of VXP Realty. We're doing case studies on a pretty frequent basis now, and the reason we're doing this is to just bring to you some real life inspiration so that you can understand how we're able to use this environment, this technology, these tools to help humanity today in a time when this global pandemic is really changing lives. We're trying to help people. So I've asked Brian Culhane to come in to be my first case study interview. And what I want to do is ask Brian just a few questions. The first question out the gate is just, how did you ever hear or learn about this kind of a cloud environment?
Hey, Brad. Well, first of all, thanks for having me in and appreciate you. Well, it's funny, Brad. We've been doing this now for going on 11 years. Glenn, I met Glenn Sanford uh, 15 years ago, actually off of Craigslist, back when most people didn't even know what Craigslist was. I responded to be his team leader here in Phoenix, and Glenn was a internet lead gen expansion team, kind of rainmaker over at Keller Williams, and he basically brought me in as his team leader 15 years ago. We ran pretty high level teams there, and then in 2008 we left and we tried a traditional brokerage. And so, as the story goes, and as most people know, we were doing okay, but then the market crashed, and that was really the first sort of let's call it the perfect storm, or really the first recession that we felt we were faced with, that really forced us to galvanize our thoughts and think about how we could still work together and stay connected. Because if you think about it, Glenn had teams in 6 or 7 cities. He had developers all over the world and computer people all over the world that were working with us, and so for him to be able to manage and physically keep an eye on everybody was just a logistical nightmare. And so we started using the early cloud office, and I think that's when you and I first met, not too soon after that, basically we've been using it ever since. Well, to kind of catch us up to current times, I've been building an organization now inside of EXP to the tune of a couple thousand agents. We obviously back in the old days, we were doing whatever we could. It was all hands on deck. I was the president, I was the chief culture officer, I was the janitor, the cloud janitor, whatever it was needed to do, I did it. But now, that Virbela has offered the private team suite piece. We were really one of the first adopters from a sort of a growth leader, influencer standpoint, because this phrase that Glenn mentioned to me many years ago has just been rattling around my head. But he said to me, and again, we'd already been using the cloud for a number of years. But he said, Brian, the only way to truly scale up your organization limitlessly is by leveraging the cloud office. And here I was going back to kind of my traditional roots, and trying to do local lunch and learns, and even got a little bit of a physical office space through Regis, and I just found that I wasn't able to, be in all the places I needed to be in real life. So, I had people wanted to fly out. My organization was in all 50 states and Canada, and it just was impossible for me to be there for everybody. So when Virbela decided to offer the private team suites to agents that we could lease, we jumped on it, because I looked at it as a way for me to create higher leverage activities. So now I could do a class and not just be a local mastermind. I could do it for all 2,000 agents in my organization and beyond, and also could invite in guests. And so at some level, I was getting back to my cloud roots, and that we used to build EXP. I mean, we almost exclusively used to meet with everybody in the cloud. We didn't do real life lunch and learns. We didn't do Zoom calls or meetings. Everything was in the cloud. And so it's been awesome, Brad. We've been at it now a couple months. We've got a pretty robust schedule of events that we add on top of your awesome education calendar. But we do some masterminds, we do some huddle ups. But the other cool thing is because of the power of EXP's collaborative community, I've met a number of partners in here through EXP that are very entrepreneurial, They're very forward thinking, social media, on sales experts, et cetera, et cetera. So I've actually started a number of companies with people that I met through EXP, and a lot of them are sort of supplemental to our main business, which is expansion and production. But for example, we started a transaction coordination company with a couple EX partners that I met out of Orange County. I also started a cloud digital marketing company to help our agents as they come on to EXP, get them set up with their systems and their marketing and so forth and so on. So, EXP offers so many great tools and so much great training, but a lot of agents just want someone to do it for them. So we kind of seized on that opportunity, and we've created a company where we'll actually do a lot of that workload for agents. And so I actually, Brad, maybe another time we'll take a tour of my office, or if anybody's interested, of course they can always come in and check us out. The Culhane company's cloud offices, we actually have 6 or 7 companies housed in there. We have our staff in there. I have my sales team in there. I've got my executive assistant. She's got real office hours. All the different companies are being what you just mentioned with this social distancing and all this fear and panic and anxiety to leave your house. I'm finding a lot of, like, for example, we have one of the #1 teams here in Maricopa County, Arizona, Jeff Seabach and the Seabach team. They've got about 50 agents. They do about $200-300 million a year. They've been meeting every Tuesday at the local association, and he'll get 50 or 60 agents in there every Tuesday. He gets his lenders in there. He gets his title reps in there. Well, guess what? They don't have anywhere to meet. So they reached out to me a couple weeks meeting in your cloud office. I said, absolutely. And now they've been having consistently their Tuesday team meetings in my cloud office. And I'll even give you a funnier, it just feels real, right?
I agree, yeah.
Yesterday, I had another meeting with Brian Carruthers, a friend of ours. You and I both know Brian, and he's done some training for us, and he's a big fan of EXP and wrote the book Building an Empire. Well, Brian and I had a little, we're doing a workshop for some agents, and actually just anybody. So I invited a bunch of people in, and so we had the #1 team in Arizona had a meeting in one office. I had about 30-40 agents in the other boardroom meeting, and I had people up front telling them where to go, and walking them back to the meeting rooms, and we had private meetings happening. And I mean, it's the next best thing to real life that you can find on the internet.
You brought up a really great point, and I know a lot of your story, and I know you were inspired by Glenn, and many of us were. But you mentioned some other industries and other people, and I said when I came over here to VirBELA to be involved more in the education side and getting the word out, that I think it's great if the folks and the doctors and scientists in China could meet with the doctors in Italy and South Korea and the United States, and they could be sitting in the chairs in front of us right now, not just connecting, but collaborating and sharing, knowledge and wisdom and experience, and really bringing people together right now. And I say this very sensitively. This is a time where this is not the future of work. This is almost the future of humanity. We can use this time, this downtime, to come out on the other end better, faster, more efficient. And so my question to you is, you live in Scottsdale. I know you guys you're really involved in your community. I know you're involved in different businesses and the Culhane group, but who else do you think this might be useful to?
No question. It's a shorter answer would be who couldn't use it, right?
I love it.
But the truth is, I've actually had the mayor of Cape Coral reached out to one of my partners because they couldn't have their mayor's scholarship fund board meeting, so they wanted to use the space. I literally just had David Minchie, a partner of mine down in Florida, reach out to me yesterday and said, hey, my wife was supposed to have her baby shower. She's feeling a little down in the dumps. Do you think we could use your office to have a baby shower? And then he goes, would it be the first time ever? And I said, actually, we had ours in here 8 years ago. We had a baby shower in here for my second child. Glenn and Gabe and a few people did a baby shower for Christmas. and so it wouldn't be the first, Dave, unfortunately, but he was thinking of that. And you know what's so interesting, Brad, is I actually just read a study that they actually hooked people up to, their like each EKG meters, and heart meters, and all kinds of different biofeedback meters, and
Right.
they studied they hooked up their brain. And studied the different parts of the brain that get activated in virtual reality versus looking at a webinar or a GoTo or a Zoom or whatever, and your brain gets activated differently. And we're social creatures. We need human interaction. We need to feel like we're engaged with other people. If left alone, people go crazy and they end up withering away.
Totally agree.
Meant to live in isolation. And so, a couple weeks, sure. A month, couple months, like it's gonna start getting funky around some of these people that are living in, on top of each other, or in tight confinements. And so this almost becomes their social outlet. This becomes their connection with other people. Like when you said, this could be the new wave of humanity. Like, you're not kidding. I mean, I think a lot about that movie, Ready Player One. That recent Steven Spielberg movie where it's a sort of a dystopian future, and everyone's living in relative squalor, except they can all put on their virtual reality and go into this gaming world.
I remember that one, yeah.
And now they're kings, and they've got cars, and they're meeting people, and there's interacting, and there's gaming, and so we've had these conversations, you and I, over the years offline, and we used to say woulda, coulda, shoulda, or not woulda, coulda, shoulda, but someday what if. Well, I think that someday is here. I don't think this, recently we've been referred to as a Donkey Kong platform, and somebody was sort of making fun of us for using this cloud office. It's sort of been seen as a bit of a gimmick or a bit of a fad. Well, I don't think it's a gimmick anymore. I think we just got validated as a legitimate a force to be recognized, and even to the point where we were just written up in a couple Stockwatch, as they were mentioning, as the rest of the bricks and mortar industries are crumbling, EXP is a bullish opportunity to look at for investors because of our solutions to these problems.
Well, one of the things you just mentioned in the study where they kind of tested your metabolism, your reaction time. One of the studies, and I don't know if this was a Harvard or a Stanford study, but they said out in the real world environment, if you and I were to go meet at a Starbucks, which we can't anyway, but if we did, you would actually only retain 7% of what I said. You'd hear and retain 7%. And the reason why, and I think you'll agree, and tell me if you don't, be honest, the distraction. There's noise. People walk by. There's I'm looking at you across the table going, wow, you're a lot taller than I imagined. And so even your distractions in your environment, along with your own internalizing things you're thinking about.
I look to Brad. What is he thinking?
Just before you came in, Texas University was in here with 150 students running their college because they can't come together on the real brick and mortar campus. That to me is a great case study, and Professor Bradley Gold, who's running the University for Texas in here, I'm going to have him sitting in that chair where you are, my friend, because I believe we have the ability, again, I say this very sensitively, to be a light in the community, to be a beacon in the world right now. Not just hope, man, not just faith, but a solution to a challenge that most people we're calling it uncertainty. I am dead solid confident and certain in telling you, I can sit here with you now. I can continue living my life, feeling like I'm socially connected. I feel like I'm sitting next to you, man. This is way better than a phone call. Yeah. And I know that other people are gonna be able to utilize, at least for now, what we have here.
I throw one comment out at you, because you said something a few years ago that I always use as an example, and it's basically the logistical information dissemination that is available in the cloud office you can't do in real space. For example, you had about 100 people in an auditorium once. Everybody punch into the text chat how many years they've been in the business. Mm-hmm. Everybody, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, and we had like 100 answers, just flash across the screen. And then you said, now everyone put what state they're working in, what market they're working in. It was like Texas, Rhode Island, Chicago, answers.
Yeah.
And you go, folks, that took 30 seconds, literally just asked and answered 100 people, got 2 questions answered, and disseminated that information with everybody in the room. You said if we tried to do that in a real auditorium, it would have taken us 2 hours. Go harvest and collect everybody's answer, turn around, consolidate the data, and then present the data back to the audience. You said it would take literally hours.
Okay, so what you just shared, I want to take it to that next level, because Brian, when I meet with agents like yourself, and there's another 100 of you in a room, and you ask every agent, let's say in the real estate sector or business, share with me how you sold your very first home. When you have 100 people tell their their story in like 20 or 30 words in that text chat box below, what ends up happening is you see about 20 or 30 that you would have never thought of, and all of a sudden you go, wait a minute, that would work. I could do that.
Well, I think that's an important thing because, Brad, if you think about it, obviously, most of us are kind of, hoping, and I think by and large this will probably blow over eventually, and we will get back to business as usual. So
Sure.
If someone's thinking, hey, this is just temporary, I don't need that. Well, the reality is the logistic part of it is so factor. And I think as people get more used to working from home, and I don't know how quickly we're all going to be wanting to run back to, an office and have to gas up our cars and look for parking and get dressed. And I'll give you a great example. The other day I had a 1-hour lunch and learn in the West Valley of Phoenix. It's about a 45-minute drive for me. Okay, not too bad. I'm from Chicago. I'm used to a $1.20 for my commute. So it was about a 45-minute drive. Well, anyways, I started getting ready. The meeting was at 11:30. I started getting ready at 9:30. It took me 45 minutes to get there. And then I didn't get home till 4 o'clock that day. So the meeting was over at like 1:30. I hung out for a little bit, chit-chatted after. I mean, it literally was maybe 5.5 hours out of my day for a 1-hour meeting. I don't have time for that as a real estate professional. I don't have time for that as a business person. Yeah, I could talk on the phone while I'm driving, and I can do this and that. But I can't talk on the phone when I'm showering. I can't talk on the phone when I'm grabbing all my bags out of the car and running up. And then the next day, I had 3 meetings in the cloud office, 3-hour-long meetings, and it literally took me 3 hours and 5 minutes. I'll throw in maybe a minute and a half in between each meeting for to refresh my coffee and set my screen. But it was 3 hours, 3 in a row, 3 meetings versus 5 hours out of my day for a 1-hour meeting. And as real estate agents and as basically all of us, time is the one thing you never get back. So, just that time saver, that efficiency, that logistical nightmare saver, I do think that even when this pandemic and even when people are cleared to come out of their house and go back to office space, I think everyone is going to be rethinking how they are going to be working and engaging and educating and doing events and meetings and socializing. Because I'll tell you, other than not being able to smell you, maybe have you pass me a basket of breadsticks. I mean, we can pretty much do everything else in this space and then some that you could do in real life.
It's a perfect lead into my second to last question, Brian, because I know how busy you are and I got to get you out of here. What advantages do you see or have you discovered using this environment that have been helpful to you and your business and your people?
Well, we touched on a lot of them.
I know.
Speed and efficiency, being able to still connect.
Sure.
Being able to, bring in partners, not just locally. I mean, really, if you think about it, the average agent is somewhat locally confined. And, the ability for me to tap into a global network of, if you think about what is a way to describe our organization, I mean, it's almost like a business real estate entrepreneur think tank. And so, I can access my brokers faster. I can access my support staff faster. Again, saves me time, saves me money. And, I just think that that is such a competitive advantage over people that are still sort of using, leading with bricks and mortar.
I think this is huge. The last thing I'm going to ask you is just, any testimonial, any story you want to share that significantly impacted your life or business, or anything else you want to wrap with. I'm honored you came and sat with me today.
I'll leave you with a funny little anecdote. The first space that we ever utilized in the 3D immersive space was called Open Quack. And it was actually created, from what I understand, to be somewhat of a medical training platform. And we, as EXP, as an organization, we've actually pushed the boundaries of 3D officing bigger and better than anybody in the world. We've maxed this space out. I remember, Brad, you and I even tried to do a real estate cloud camp, and this was before you ever were with us as an organization. You were just an industry leader. I think you were still at Active Rain, or maybe you'd just gone over to Zillow, but we had you come be the MC. We invited in 500 people. We told them all to be there at 9 a.m., and we ended up crashing. But they had never had that kind of a test case for them before. But my point of the anecdote is not that. It's that Open Quack quickly renamed themselves, because I guess using the term quack for medical platform was not the best idea. But it's just funny how. So I think when they go to telespace.
Yeah.
But it was just a really cool. We've been doing this now for, like I said, 11 years. I catch myself dreaming in 3D. I am not sitting home feeling isolated right now. And thanks to you and early adopters that first used to showcase us as a forward-thinking company, and then eventually jumped over and now has been a champion and a leader in our organization. And you and I mean, Brad, I love seeing you at the events. I love hanging out with you. I love coming to watch your band play. But listen, the next best thing is hanging out with you in the cloud office and coming to one of your presentations. And I still feel like I get that same energy. I can still feel your vibe. And the only thing that's missing is your guitar and your Leonard Skinner hat.
But seriously, this is the opportunity now. This is a new world. It's not the future of work. I believe strongly that we are a light and a beacon of more than just hope and faith. We are a solution to a major global pandemic challenge. And whether it's short-term, mid-term, or long-term, we're going to get through this. I guarantee it. But I think as long as we can, I'm going to pull us off the screen and I'm going to show them the main case study for as the co-founder of EXP Realty is right here on the screen behind me. You can find this case study over on Virbela.com. There are classes and courses and things happening over there right now. But I basically wanted to just give people a resource. Anybody in the world, no matter who you are, where you are, you can go to Virbela.com, Virbela.com. It's not browser dependent. It's not operating system dependent. It's only depending on you to download it, come in here, meet and greet with people, take a few of the simple courses. There is no cost or obligation. But buddy, I mean this when I say this, and I'm still recording. I love you, man, and you've changed my life. EXP has changed my life. Virbela is continuing to change my life, and now all I want to do is change lives of others by I just want to give back, man. I just want to,
You're the right guy for the job, brother. I mean, your passion and enthusiasm is, it's contagious.
And, I appreciate that. I'm humbled.
Nothing more contagious than love and passion for others. And, we'll beat all these viruses. And listen, this is nothing new. We've been dealing with this for since humans first landed on this planet. And we'll get through it. And I think people like you and leaders like you and the rest of this organization are, like you said, they're the light of hope and the beacon that is leading people out. And what you said at the beginning of this call, I think is very, very, this interview was very apropos. It's when, if you think about when you're sitting in solitary confinement, what's the best thing to do? Pull-ups. Well, guess what I've been doing? I've been doing business push-ups and business pull-ups.
I've been following you.
When they take the quarantine off, I'm gonna come roaring out in a puddle of sludge.
I love it. I love it. All right, my friend. Well, listen. Even on the record, and I'll have this on recording. when this does clear, and it will clear, as all things in life do, it shall come to pass. I would love for you guys to come out here and just share what you're doing, how you're doing it, because those people, not tomorrow, I think today, they need you. So I might even bring you into a conference call or a Zoom call with some of them. But I have a lot of agents out here in brokerages. They can't go to their office. They can't have their water cooler chats. They can't meet together. They need to know about this. So I want to thank you, brother.
You need, Brad. Anytime.
Thanks, my friend. Have a great day. All right, everybody. That was Brian Culhane, good friend, dear friend, co-founder of eXp Realty with Glenn Sanford, sharing his story, his testimony, a little bit of a case study for anybody watching or listening. If you have any questions, please reach out to myself, reach out to Virbela.com, reach out to Brian. We're here to help. We're here to serve. And we want to thank you guys for watching this video. Have a great day. Bye-bye.